Today we are going to start covering parts of Chapter 3. Today and tomorrow we're going to be looking at lines and angles. Our objective today is just to identify angles that are formed by two lines and a transversal, and then tomorrow we'll extend it and look at angle measures. So if we're going to talk about lines intersected with a transversal, it's important that you know what a transversal is. A transversal is a line that intersects two coplanar lines at two different points. Okay, a line that intersects two coplanar lines, so lines on the same flat surface at two different points. Okay, so they're not all three lines intersecting at the same point. So, below this here, angles formed by transversals. You have this in your interactive notebook. We put that in on Thursday after our quiz. So, when I look at the diagram, I've got four different lines. I have line L, line M, line J, and line K. So, depending upon what part of that diagram you are looking at, each one of those four lines is a transversal to two other lines. And when we have those lines cut by transversals, then we see from all of those numbers different angles that are formed. So, first thing we're going to do is determine our transversals, depending upon the angles that we are looking at. So, when I am looking at angles 1 and 12, okay, angle 1 and angle 12. So, when I look at those two angles, what line is necessary to be able to form both angle 1 and angle 12? Okay, line L is needed to form both lines. So line L is the transversal for those two angles. So my yellow lines, J and K, would be those two coplanar lines. The green is that transversal. So for angles 3 and 6, got angle 3 and angle 6. Which line is needed to form those two angles?
J.
Okay, line J is my transversal. So again, depending upon what part of the picture we're looking at, okay? Because when we look at angles formed by transversals, we're just looking at three of the lines. We have four lines in our picture. So angle 7 and angle 15. What would be my transversal for this one? Line M. And then my last angle pair, we have angle 12 and angle 14. What's my shared line there? Line K. So important to, in a diagram, be able to identify the transversal if you are given more than 3 lines. Okay, here we had 4 lines. So then we're going to look at finding different angle pairs, again, based on those 2 lines cut by a transversal. So up here on the board, we see that same diagram that we were just looking at in your book. We want to identify some different angles. So again, we know in this particular problem, there'd be lots of possibilities depending on which one of those 4 lines we are looking at as the transversal. When we name our angles, okay, so we don't have to name all of the different pairs, we're going to focus in on just one of those transversals. We are going to use L as the transversal. Okay, so basically we are just looking at the left half of that diagram. So we're looking at pairs of angles. First pair of angles that we're going to be looking at are what we call corresponding angles. Corresponding angles lie on the same side of the transversal. Okay, so since our transversal is kind of going up and down, okay, same side means either both on the left or both on the right, and they need to be in corresponding positions with their line. Okay? So when we're looking for a pair of angles, we're going to take one from the top group, one from the bottom group. They are corresponding. What I like to think of for corresponding is they are in exactly the same location of that intersection point. So we're going to list all the corresponding angle pairs. Okay. So which angle corresponds with angle 1? Angle 1 is in the upper left corner. So what's in the upper left corner in my other group? Angle 9. So what corresponds with angle 2? Angle 10. What about angle 3?
11.
Angle 11. And angle 4. Angle 12. So we have 4 pair of corresponding angle. Each angle in one group corresponds with another angle in that other group. Okay. So for each transversal, you're going to have 4 pairs. Okay. So if we were going all the way around and looking at all the possibilities, we'd have all kinds of things that we were listing. We're just going to focus on that left side. Another angle pair that they have us identify, so again, we're just working with that left side, are alternate interior angles. Okay. Alternate interior angles are non-adjacent, they're not next to each other. Interior angles that lie on opposite sides of the transversal. So again, I'm going to highlight that transversal. So they need to be on opposite sides of the transversal. So one on the left, one on the right. They also need to be interior angles. Interior angles are going to be in between those 2 lines. So not my transversal, the other 2 lines. Okay. Inside is my interior angles. So I know one of my interior angles is angle 2. Which angle is an alternate interior angle to angle 2? Aiden? Not 12. 12's not right. Angle 11. Okay. Interior, opposite side of the transversal. So 2 and 11 are alternate interior. So angle 4 and angle 9 are alternate interior. So 2 pair of alternate interior angles when we have 2 lines cut by a transversal. Another group that you might be asked to identify is an alternate exterior group. So again, we look at that transversal. This time we're using exterior angles instead of interior. So exterior is outside of the 2 lines, but again, opposite sides of the transversal. So I see angle 1. What angle is an alternate exterior to angle 1?
12.
Angle 12.
15.
And then we have angle 3 and 10. Okay, alternate exterior. Another pair we might be asked to identify are same side interior angles. So looking at our transversal, again, we're looking at interior, so inside of those 2 lines, but this time we want them on the same side of the transversal. So angle 2 is same side interior to which angle? Angle 9. And then angle 4 and angle 11 are same side interior. So those are common angle pairs that you are asked to identify anytime we have 2 lines cut by that transversal.